Everyone, happy Monday, guys. I hope you're doing great. I know I'm coming your way quite early today. So, yeah, it's a bit unusual, but we have something exciting to discuss. So, join in and let's get started. Let's allow people to troop in. I hope you had a fabulous weekend. Welcome, guys. Instagrammers, you're very welcome. Facebook. Oh my gosh, did I? Okay, it's streaming. That's fine. For some, for a while, I thought I hadn't connected on Facebook, but we are connected on all these platforms. So, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram, and of course, YouTube. Okay, guys, so join in. Please drop me the US flag if you are excited to be here. Can you guys hear me on TikTok? For some reason, I got a notification that you guys can't hear me. This is the problem with going live on multiple channels. There's just a lot to kind of make sure or figure out and just try to make sure everyone can hear you at the same time. If you can hear me on all the platforms, please drop me a flag of the United States of America. Drop me the US flag, drop me the US flag, and then we can get started. Can you guys see my new hairstyle? Okay, fellas. So I see the US flag, people dropping it. TikTokers, if you guys can hear me, drop me a flag. Drop me an emoji of the US flag. Drop me an emoji of the American flag so that I'm sure that you guys can hear me. Okay, all is clear on TikTok. Perfect. I see one with God on TikTok and Anajwe Jewa. I also see on TikTok dropping the flag. I also see Tony on Facebook. Oh, on LinkedIn. And another person on LinkedIn, I can't see the name. Julius on YouTube, Julius Galenku, also dropping the US flag. Perfect. Okay, guys. So last week I came your way. We discussed a very interesting story about a Ghanaian man known as Mr. Asmah who sued the US Embassy in Ghana based on certain happenings. Okay, so we'll do a quick recap of that story because there's an update to the story I want to share with you, and then there's a few lessons, US immigration law lessons will call from the story. So please stick with me. We're not going to be here for too long, so don't worry about that. Okay, so if you guys remember, Mr. Asmah is a US citizen. He was here in the US and he filed for his wife who's based in Ghana, Grace Asmah. And when he filed, the case was approved from this part of the process. As you guys may know, once you file an immigrant visa petition for a family member who's based abroad, it's generally a two-part process. If you will, we could break it down into a three-part process. Okay. So this time, as we're going through the story, then I will, draw the lessons from, US immigration law. Okay. So if you are here in the US, you're a green card holder, US citizen, your spouse or your family member is based abroad, it's a three-part process if we want to make it that way. The first part of the process is here. USCIS will, you need to establish to USCIS that you have a certain type of immigration status and that you are able to file a petition, an immigrant visa petition. And then secondly, you have to explain to US immigration what is the acclaimed relationship between you and the beneficiary you're filing for. So you show them you're a US citizen and that you're filing for your wife. That's the first part. Once it's approved, it's forwarded to the National Visa Center, which acts as a liaison between the USCIS here and the US Embassy in the country where your family member is based. Okay. So once it gets to the NVC will allow you to submit civil documents, fill out forms, do your medicals and whatever. Submit all your civil documents and forms and pay fees. And once you're documentarily qualified, you move to the third part of the process, which is someone is actually requesting to join live. We'll do that later, please. The US Embassy will then schedule you for an interview to come in person. So Mr. Asmah filed for his wife. It was forwarded to the US Embassy in Ghana. Mrs. Asmah was scheduled for an interview. When she went, her petition was denied because, according to the US Embassy, Mrs. Asmah failed to demonstrate that they were in a genuine marriage. Okay. Now, here is the second lesson we're going to talk about. I tell people all the time that you may know that you're in a real marriage with your partner, right? You know your marriage is real. Your family members know your marriage is real. Unfortunately, the person at the US Embassy does not know your marriage is real. They only have your documents to go by. And remember that they're reviewing hundreds of thousands of applications. So they cannot tell which one is the fraudulent marriage. They cannot tell which one is the genuine marriage. And so how they work around this is that US immigration does not want this to be arbitrary, right? So they don't want the officer's decision to be based on the fact that, oh, your name is too complex. We don't want you to be in America. So petition denied, bam. They don't want it to be that random. They want the process to be predictable, as predictable as possible. So the US immigration laws through the Immigration Nationality Act, which is the regulations or the statutes that regulates immigration processes, it's defined ways in which these consular officers, if they are based abroad, can adjudicate these marriage-based petitions. So the first thing we're going to talk about is legal standard, and the second thing is the burden of proof. Well, let's switch it up. We'll talk about the burden of proof, and then we'll talk about the legal standard. So what is the burden of proof? You guys know in any immigration case, there's always a burden of proof, right? Because you're taking you're taking a matter to court or to an agency for them to adjudicate. In this case, the US Embassy is going to be the federal agency that is going to be adjudicating your petition. So there's always a burden of proof. Let's talk about criminal matters, right? If there's a criminal matter, and so let's say you may have come across this very interesting CA where they say, look, the fact that you killed the guy does not mean that you get to go to jail or you go to jail. You can very well shoot someone, but you go scot-free. You don't get to do your time in jail or prison because prosecution failed to meet their burden of proof, right? And they failed to meet their standard of proof. Okay, so now the burden of proof is who is the person supposed to bring evidence or adduce evidence who's the person supposed to adduce evidence to actually bolster what they are saying. And this person is the person that bears that burden of proof. So in a criminal matter, the prosecution, which is normally the government lawyers, they are the ones that will bear the burden and say that, look, this guy killed this woman. So, we will show you why this person killed this person. And the standard of proof in criminal matters, as you guys may know, is beyond every reasonable doubt, right? Because they want to make sure that if they're putting someone in jail, then there's no doubt in anyone's mind that this is the person that truly shot this woman. When it comes to US immigration, the burden of proof is always on the petitioner or on the benefit requester. So you're the one that needs a green card. The government doesn't have any burden to show that your marriage is real or that you qualify for what you are asking for. You, the person who needs the green card or the US citizenship or the visa, the burden is on you. Okay, the burden is on you to make sure that you are demonstrating that, yes, I qualify. Can you please approve this petition? And what's the legal standard? In these type of processes, the legal standard is generally by a preponderance of the evidence. And what's a preponderance of the evidence? It's not too high a standard. It's 50% chance. It's a 50% chance that what you're saying is likely to be true. So it's not too high a standard at all. It's a pretty great standard. So if you are doing your homework well, your case should be approved if there are no generally should be approved if you've done your work well. So what in this case, Mr. Asmah and Grace Asmah failed to realize was that the fact that your marriage is real, no one cares. Are you able to prove this, right? You should be able to prove it to an objective person who doesn't know you guys. Can you guys hear me on TikTok? I keep getting notification that you cannot hear me. I'm not sure why. TikTokers, if you guys can hear me, drop me a US flag, please, an emoji of the US flag. Okay, I see that they said they can hear me. Okay, perfect. So guys, listen. So your marriage could be real, but are you able to prove it to the objective person? He's never met you, he's never heard your name, that your marriage is truly real. So that's where the legal standard comes in. When we say you should prove that your marriage is real by a preponderance of the evidence, there's a method to do it. And I've told you guys right here on social media that there's even a method to madness. Shakespeare told all of us, even though it be madness, there be method in it. There's a method to everything. Social media management, how to cook jollof, there's a method. How to get pregnant, there's a method to that, right? Because if you're supposed to be penetrating somewhere, you're doing something else, you're out. It's not going to work. With your jollof, if you're supposed to be adding your blended pepper before you add the rice, and you put rice and water, and then you do the reverse, it's not going to work. You're not going to have Ghana jollof, delicious Ghana jollof. You're probably going to end up with Nigerian jollof, which you may not want. So there's a method to how you present to the consular officer that yes, your marriage is real. Okay, so that's what Mr. Asmah and Grace failed to do. And unfortunately, because Grace Asmah was at the US Embassy 3 times, and in 3 cases, on all those 3 occasions, they didn't give her the visa. Mr. Asmah got really mad, stormed the US Embassy, and then unfortunately, I think there was some, because he said he had been abused by the staff of the US Embassy, right? And then he sued them in New York courts, seeking monetary damages and seeking them to actually adjudicate the petition and have his wife join him. So that's where Mr. Asmah made a mistake. It's not about storming the court and showing them your burger powers, or showing them that yes, you are an American citizen and you can speak English. You can form sentences, like speaking sentences, about 6 sentences without pausing, all in the Queen's language or in your American accent, or you can, show them that you know how the right thing should be done and all of that. They're not really interested in that. It's all about proving your case. Have you met the burden of proof? Have you met the legal standard? If you haven't met it, you can come with your American English or your Bronx English or your Massachusetts English, and your case is going to be denied. And unfortunately for Mr. Asmah also, once he the court, actually the New York court, this was the New York State's District Southern District Court of New York. That's where he sued the US Embassy, and they dismissed his claim. They actually granted the motion of the defendant, which is the US Embassy, to dismiss the claim. The reason they actually dismissed it, let me go there again. Apparently, there is, of course, you guys may know if you've studied American law, that you cannot sue federal agencies. Generally, you cannot sue federal agencies. So they sued, Mr. Asmah sued the US Consulate in Accra, Ghana. It was dismissed because they said, no, you cannot sue a federal agency. They have immunity. Like, you just cannot sue them. So if you're trying to sue the US Embassy, then try to bring it under Bivens claim, a legal principle known as the Bivens claim. And under that, so where a plaintiff brings a claim against federal defendants in error, the proper cause of action is to construe the complaint as stating a cause of action under Bivens. Now, Bivens affords a remedy against federal officials, and it precludes actions against federal agencies. So what this simply means in English, simply means is that you cannot sue the federal agency itself, like the US Embassy Ghana. You cannot sue them. They have immunity, right? But you can sue specific federal officials who are in those agencies. Okay, so that's why his the motion to dismiss by the defendant, that's the U.S. embassy, was granted, because they didn't sue, they didn't name the people who had to be sued. Okay, so guys, that's it. That's what I wanted to discuss with you. The lessons flowing out of this. Please make sure that if you are submitting your case to the U.S. embassy, you are doing it, by meeting the proper legal standard and by discharging your burden of proof. Once you do this, then they don't have a reason to deny you. Okay. There's a way, even a method in which you have to arrange everything, like what you say, what kind of supporting documents you have to submit, and then your case will be most likely approved, because the standard is not that high, it's just 50%. Criminal cases, beyond every reasonable doubt, they've pegged it at about 99%. Like, okay, it has to be 99% chance that this person you're accusing of this crime actually committed the crime. Okay. All right. Guys, drop your questions, your comments, your concerns, and then we can take them. Okay, so that's it. And also, please note that, so the update on the case, let me tell you guys. So I actually tried to pull up, I tried to see if there was a continuation to the case Asmah versus the U.S. Consulate Accra Ghana. It looks like there was nothing. So it looks like Mr. Asmah, once the case, he was told that, look, go and amend your complaint and then come back and refile. He didn't do it. So there's no evidence as to what happened to Mrs. Asmah, if she was eventually able to join her husband or not. Maybe Mr. Asmah later on used an attorney and they refiled. I don't know what happened. Hopefully she's here enjoying her life, because this was in 2016. So I'm hoping that by now they've resolved the case. Okay. Okay, guys, let me see the questions on TikTok. Okay, that's, we can hear you. Healthy 71 Wealthy says, good afternoon. It's all right for the person to do the medical in different states if the person that is doing it. So I think you want to ask about the medicals for the green cards. Generally, in order to be able to get a green card or an immigrant's visa to the United States, you have to be admissible. Being admissible means that you are not inadmissible based on one of the grounds under Section 212 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. So you normally have to prove that, you are admissible. You don't have any criminal inadmissibility. You don't have any medical inadmissibility. I may have mentioned to you guys before, in the past, if you had HIV/AIDS, you were inadmissible under the medical or under health grounds. And of course, now you have to take vaccines like COVID. You have to make sure that you don't have hepatitis B or some sort of coughing disease that will cause a public health emergency to the US. So they just want to protect people in the US, right? So you have to be admissible. And as part of your green card application, you have to go and do a medical test by a civil surgeon who is recommended by USCIS. So you normally put in your zip code where you're based, and then you get civil surgeons who have been designated by USCIS to actually perform these medical tests. And then they'll do the tests and then seal it, and then you take it with you to your interview, or you submit it along with your initial application. Now it's recommended that you take it along, you submit it with the initial application in order for the process to go faster. Okay. So I think that's what you were asking. Okay, let me go on to Instagram and see if we have any questions with what we just discussed. I see Ms. Cute Lips on Instagram. Miss Cute Lips says, if you have F1 130 case with receipt date of February 2022, when do you think USCIS can approve the case. So you have F1, I-130. F1 is normally the unmarried son or daughter of a US citizen. I believe the priority date is now about, is it about 2014? Because I remember I actually just did it. We just went through that. I just helped a client, so I know. Let me see. I'll pull up the visa bulletin. We just pull up visa bulletin for January 2023. I believe it's 2014 December. The last time I checked. So it means that your priority date, that means you have about, hold on, I'm just pulling this up, the visa bulletin. And yes, I was right. F1, the priority date is 1st December 2014. So your priority date must be before this date for your case to be current and for a visa to be available for your case. So you're going to be called most likely in about, you have about 8 years more to wait. Okay, cute lips, you have about 8 more years to wait. Oh, USCIS, when, okay, that means that, so USCIS could approve the case anytime soon. That one, you don't need a priority. Well, you can check with the processing times, but that part is not really the determining factor, because with the USCIS part, they could approve it in about a year or less, or in a year and a half, you know. And then once it's approved, the main part is the visa becoming available for your case. So that's going to be about 8 years more for you. USCIS processing times. Normally, I'll need the type of application you filed, as well as the where you filed it from. You know, like if it was California. Let me see. Yeah, the field office or service center, like which service center. If you do just Google check case processing times, it will tell you the form. You put in the form, and then you put in the field office or the service center you sent your application to, and that should let you know how long the first part will take. But your visa will be, your date, it looks like you have about 8 more years for a visa to become available. So even if USCIS approves your case, you still have a long way to go. Guys, any more questions about Mr. Asmah and his wife? Any more questions about Mr. Asmah and his wife? Julius on YouTube says, I really like this information. Thank you, Julius. Appreciate it. Okay, now let's see. We are good on YouTube said, let's share. Absolutely. Please don't forget to share. Don't forget to share the information, the video with your friends. Okay, guys. So if you don't have any more questions, I can answer. No Mimi on TikTok says, what is the best way to send a package of adjustment of status in 2 folders, I-138 or 485 or I-138? Why do you want to send it in 2 folders? You send it in one. It's one case, so you send it in one folder. You have to send it in one folder. So you want to avoid USCIS from actually misplacing your document. So if you can send it in one folder, do. And yes, you have to make sure you've arranged it properly so that things are well done. Miss Cute Lips, it's a spousal visa. Are you in the US or in abroad? It sounds like you are abroad. She says it's Texas. Now let's look at I-130 for Texas Center. Let me see if that's gonna work. For spouse, this is for spouse. Let me see. US citizen filing for spouse. I just assumed that. And then Texas center. Let's get the processing times. 11.5 months, right? 12 months, like a year. So I wasn't too far off. So 12 months for the first pass to be approved for you here in the US. Bema B on Instagram says, "Can I apply for citizenship for my child when I naturalize?" Yes, you can. It depends on if it sounds like your child has already been born, then you could probably do a derivative application. If you become a citizen before your child is born, then they become automatic US citizens if you qualify. Sometimes you have to satisfy physical presence rules and a bunch of other rules. So it just really depends. But yeah, normally if you become a US citizen, you can either you cannot really give them citizenship if it's derivative. They would have to become green card lawful permanent residents first before they become citizens, unless of course they automatically acquire citizenship, then they can get that. Okay. Miss Cute Lip says, "Please, my husband is a US citizen at Buffalo and I'm in Ghana." Okay, got it. SB Jeffrey says, "I got documentarily qualified October 2021, waiting for NBC to schedule F2B. Um, Contact me. How long to get an interview date? It will, it just really, really depends. So, all right, guys. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this live video. I will see you in our next. Don't forget to follow our pages, share the information we're sharing with your friends, like, drop a comment, an emoji, subscribe, like, follow, just do everything you need to do. Okay, and I'll see you guys later. I wish you a great rest of your week. Take care and bye. Bye, fellas.